Welcome back, everyone, to Hades Tech. I'm your host, Hades, and in this video, we are going to discuss why more data doesn't equal better decisions. All right, so overall, to dive straight into this, because this could easily be a 15-minute video, more data, just like I said, does not equal better decisions or even better outcomes. And the reason why behind that is based on one, experience, and two, I've seen this countless amount of times with new analysts. All right, so what I see is a new analyst will get into their role, extremely happy, maybe went to school for it, the whole 9 yards, and they end up discovering very soon within their career that as they go ahead and they get their first task and they gather what the overall goal that they're trying to accomplish, they gather all of the data, whether that be in a database, just a random Excel file, you name it, wherever the data is stored. And then they take that information, they process it, they cleanse the data, make sure that there's no anomalies, things of that nature. And then they end up having a ton of data, tons of columns, crap ton of rows, the whole 9 yards. And they end up thinking at first that, look, I got all of this data that I could go ahead and use. Let me go ahead and fix that. So they had all this data that they could use, which is great. But it takes experience to understand that more data doesn't equal better decisions, but it can equal more opportunities to discover and pull out things from within that data that originally you never knew was there. So that's just something to keep in mind. Is the more data that you have, the more experience that you get as an analyst, as a data analyst, what you're gonna find is the more data that you have, the more you're able to look at the data, process it mentally, and be like, oh damn, well, I'm seeing, these 30 columns, 50 columns with 50,000 rows. But within those columns and how they're identified, and hopefully they're identified with some structure to it. Because if they're not, oh my damn. Especially if you're a new data analyst, that's gonna be rough. But let's just say, for simplicity purposes, everything is labeled accurately and makes sense. All the column names make sense, let's just say. So what you're gonna start to see over time with experience is you're gonna be able to mentally see and pull out different metrics, different KPIs that can be measured that originally wasn't thought of. And after you've accomplished a few tasks, you could also, within those meetings, just go ahead and impress management, upper management, you name it, whoever is essentially above you. You could go ahead and inform those individuals, like, I've also found within the data that we're able to track XYZ over the time frame of 2005 to 2025, and we're able to identify further trends based off of these particular columns that I happen to find once we extracted all of this data. Right then and there, exactly, you seen that pause that I just did? Right then and there, that's going to be their reaction. Their reaction is going to be like, oh, okay, well, and especially if they haven't ever had a response like that, it's going to blow their minds. And then they're going to be like, absolutely, let's do that. And don't get it wrong, it's a little bit more work on your end, but it's better for you as the new data analyst, okay? But just keep that in mind. Just know that more data does not always mean better decisions, okay? Sometimes for new analysts, less data makes more sense, because it's less that you have to process, and you're going to start to go ahead and develop that mentality that we spoke on, which is being able to identify as soon as you see the columns exactly what you're able to extract from that data, other than what was just originally asked, okay? So those are just some things to keep in mind to enhance your career in data analytics. And especially if you plan on going further down the line and eventually into management and things of that nature, there's going to be some key points that you want to take note of, and also be able to speak in the business sense as well. Because once again, I always try to provide you guys with the most information, the most detailed information that I really don't see too much here on YouTube. Like, this is the nitty gritty stuff, straight to the point, no BS. We're not going to sugarcoat shit over here. All right. But that wraps up this video. So until next time, everyone, take care.